Hi there, my name's Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Oh, it's good to be here. I tell you what, I always ask you where you're from and how the weather is. I woke up this morning with the AC running, and I thought, the AC's running? What's going on? Like, oh, beards, I'll get to that. I'm going to talk about that today. The AC's running? Why am I so hot? It's like, this is weird. Okay, so went and turned the other ACs on. Thought, okay, I guess it's okay now. There's 3 ACs running in the apartment. Went down to get the, well, actually, first thing, I thought the acoustic guitar stand a bit muddy. I thought, wonder what's up with that, because this was hanging on the wall all night. I went downstairs to get the mail, and the air is wet. Like, you can feel the wet in the air. It's that humid here. So, I'm telling you this for a reason. Like, we always talk about dry guitars in the winter, because when it gets colder, there's less moisture, and the heating comes on and dries out the wood, and they crack. It happens all the time around here. But being too wet is also a problem as well. It's something that most people don't talk about. It's a reason I like the Boveda humidity packs, because they absorb moisture and release moisture. Or should I say they release the moisture in the winter and they absorb it in the summer. So do keep your guitar with them if you feel it. It just amazes me still how you can walk outside and you just feel like the wetness in the air. It's crazy, isn't it? Let me know how it is where you are. The room here is 45% humidity, but I've had the AC running for hours, so that shows how humid it is. Okay, just say hi. So today I want to demo the Lyric. Actually, you had a question about Logic. I'm going to use Logic today to demo the Lyric microphone for you. So watch out for that. We'll focus on that for today, and then any other questions that come in we'll talk about as well. Just say hi first of all. Paul says, watching from beautiful Montana. I'd love to go there sometime. Bozeman, Montana is where the Gibsons are made, right? David says, good afternoon, Aaron, everyone in the chat. Just finished watching an old Sweetwater video of Dick Boak giving a Martin presentation. I was going to say, Dick Boak was at Sweetwater again? That was from 2013. They just had the Sweetwater Gear Fest online, and the way they ran it this year was interesting. They didn't have the public there. They didn't do it all online. They did it online, but they also invited about 36 big names on YouTube. And I guess their thinking is that by inviting those guests, I mean, it seems they looked after them very well, which is great. But by inviting those guests there, they will then continue to release videos from Sweetwater for the next month or two. And it will be third-party videos, which are always better than videos from the company themselves, right? So it's been interesting watching their videos. I watched Pete Thorne, I watched Phil McKnight. It's been interesting watching those videos this week to see the angle on it. I mean, obviously everyone's very excited to be there, happy to be there, grateful to be there. But they also seem to be like Phil McKnight is cool. He seems to be like, well, I'm going around, I'm actually doing my checks and my testing and asking questions. And I look forward to seeing what he releases in the next few weeks and days and weeks. But it's an interesting way of doing things, isn't it? I also just heard that Sweetwater opening another warehouse. Actually, that was on Phil's channel as well. Opening another warehouse on the West Coast, so you'll be able to get your guitar the next day. It'll be like Amazon for guitars and gear. You'll get your stuff the next day, which is a good thing, I guess. We're so used now to getting stuff next day or same day, right? It's what? I've got to wait a week? How dare you? How dare you make me wait for a week? Crazy. So, I'll come to your question, Beard. Let me just say hi to everyone. Jim is here. Good to see you in Vermont. And David, I'll come to that in a second as well. Bernard's here. Good to see you. Hot's here as well. I know. Yeah, it's raining here too. That's the problem, isn't it? When it rains as well, that's when you get all the dampness, all the humidity. Brad Miller says, you think it's humid, try Tampa. What's the humidity like in Tampa right now? I can't take it. Can't take it. But then again, if I live somewhere like that, I think I'd have better AC. Like here, I have the ACs in the wall. They're not efficient. There's probably gaps around them. They're not that powerful, not as powerful as they could be. I would just own a house with AC built in that would just do the whole house all the time. I think that would be better than, I mean, New York is not not the best place for technology and the AC and stuff. The buildings are very old. Hi, Chazza. Hi, Patsy Smith. Yeah, last night was a last minute thing. I wasn't going to do it, and I thought, I want to do it. I want to test the guitar, so that's why I did that last minute. Oh, the new warehouse is in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay. So, do we know if there'll be another warehouse on the East Coast? Because right now they ship from the middle of the country, right? Which is why I get stuff in 2 days. Will there be one on the East Coast as well, so we all get stuff within 1 day? That would be crazy, wouldn't it? Hi from Germany. Good to see you here. Ryan, friendly reminder, don't forget to put the Q, or it's just a comment. Hi, Ryan. Ask me again with the Q. I'm also, I have to do that because I want to keep everyone's questions in line. That's only fair, isn't it? If you want to jump the line, send me a super chat. Hey, it's only fair. Brad Miller says heat index is 105, 95, 90% humidity. Well, in this room right now, it's 45%, and I'm struggling. I had to turn the AC off because as much as I love the Rodecaster Pro and its noise gate, it won't shut out a AC. A noise gate won't shut out an AC. Hi, Paddy. Good to see you here. All right, let's go up to the questions then, the Qs. First question was from Beards and Banjos. Love that name. Did you get your you mean the Rodecaster, right? To work with Logic. So here's an update. Here's an update. For a hot minute, I thought, am I going to return this? I thought, no, I don't want. I really like it. I've had no issues. Drives me crazy that in the Facebook group, everyone's complaining about it, saying they rushed it to market. No, they didn't. It's fine. I had the box. It was fine. I had a couple of minor issues that were my fault, right? That always happens. You get a new piece of gear. You're super excited. You plug it in, you're rushing, you're racing, you plug it in the wrong USB port. There's stupid little things like that. Maybe I had to, so I'm drinking coffee, that's why I'm coughing. Maybe I had to factory reset it and reinstall it one time. But whatever, it was fine. And ever since then, knock on wood, it has been fine. I've had no issues with it, and I really like the sound quality. I like the workflow. There's just a couple of things that are annoying. And there's a couple of things that are not deal breakers, but I will mention them to you now if you're interested in the Rodecaster Pro 2, because I have been talking about it the last few weeks. It's a great product. I mean, for the price, and I don't like saying that for the price, but for the price, what you get here is excellent. I think it sounds better than the Apollo Twin. The only problem I've found, and I say problem, but the problem I've found is Logic. So in Logic, the latency is too big for me to record in. Now, it's not crazy, and it's the same as a Focusrite Scarlett, the little one you can get that goes into a phone or an iPad. I have one of those for my iPad, and I tried that, and it's the same latency as that. So it's no worse than a lot of standard interfaces, but it's nowhere near as good as my Apollo Twin. But the Apollo Twin has to be plugged in, and you have to run their software. So that's why it's better, because they're using their own software to do things, the drivers and things, right? Now with that, I can get down to like 1 to 3 milliseconds of round trip latency. That's really good. I don't feel that. I love that. With this, I don't like playing the guitar through it in Logic because I can feel that latency. So the way I've gone around it is I'm actually running my quad cortex into inputs 3 and 4. And I like that anyway, because it gives me more inputs, 4 inputs on the quad cortex, and I can also pull those 2 cables out and plug them into my Captor X back there and play electric, or use the quad cortex for electric. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to just run the quad cortex and run instruments through the Rodecaster Pro, and then I'll keep the Apollo Twin because I bought a load of plugins for it, and also if I need to do a recording like a cover song or something, I can use that and get super low latency if I want that. So that's what I'm going to do. I do wish, having said all that, I do wish the Rodecaster Pro had super low latency, but nothing really does. And the things that do have that are 1000 to 1400 just for the box that just does that one thing. And this is 700 and does lots of things. And I think that's the thing. So it's probably not fair of me to even look at this as an audio interface. It's really a what do you call it? Podcasting device with the relevant features for that function. And for that, it's fine. Like I'm talking to you right now, plugged into it, processing the audio into Ecamm Live. I don't hear any weirdness or any glitches or any latency here. There is latency on the screen, but that's because I'm using a DSLR camera. That happened before with the Apollo. I'm not getting latency with that, but when you try to use something like Logic, I don't think that's usable for me, and that can be a problem. Having said that, that Logic is easier to use. I'm gonna play you examples of the Lyric microphone from LR Bags today through Logic, and I love it because all I do is play it in Logic and it comes through the Rodecaster Pro. I bring up a fader and you hear it. Now with my old setup, I couldn't do that. You have to use third-party plugins, or software. You had to route the console a certain way. It was kind of a pain in the butt. With this, I can easily play music from the computer, and I'll do that in our demo today halfway through. So there's things that are better about this and there's things that are worse about this. But the only one thing that I've really found that's a problem for me is that latency. And I can't imagine they'd be able to get it down any lower for that kind of price. If it was as low as I think it's called the Apollo Twin, and the other one is the RME. I mean, that's $1,000 just for that thing, just for that low latency and a couple of mic inputs. So if they'd done that, it would have been a lot of money. So I get that. But yeah, stay tuned because I'll be doing a demo through Logic today. Paddy says hi, awesome. Oh, and Beard says I'm not a fan of the noise gate of the Rodecaster Pro. Well, I prefer it to the Apollo. The one I had in the Apollo was very aggressive. Now I could change it, but what I did was I listened to last week's podcast or this video through the Rodecaster Pro, and I compared it to another stream from a few months ago. This is why I do YouTube videos, really, to compare stuff. You know that? I'll do that with the guitars as well. I'll tell you about that later. But I listened to a podcast from a video from a few weeks ago and compared it to the ones with the Rodecaster, and I prefer the sound of my voice through the Rodecaster. I will agree the noise gate, the way it is out the box, isn't as aggressive as my other setup, so I get more noises come through, but I also find that more natural. So I don't see that as a problem. And if I do a recorded video, I just trim some of those out or fade them out anyway, manually. So horses for courses, but I know, I really like it. And they did do a good video lately where they sat around a table and said they've got new stuff coming, one of which will be the ability to send exactly the outputs you want from the device. That's one problem I have in Logic as well. I have to have the input signal and the output signal. If I'm playing right now, you'll hear both through Ecamm. With a new update, it seems I can tell the Rodecaster not to send a dry signal, and you'll only hear the wet signal. So that'd be a really good thing to have. At least I think that's how it's going to work, and that'd be a good thing to have. And I like the way that they're aggressively pushing out updates. There's been 3 firmware updates already that's helped people with certain devices. So, I don't know. I like all products that are released now, day one, they get a lot of hate. I think it's really good. And the fact that they do seem to be aggressively updating it already, I recommend the product, but hey, nothing's perfect. But I think of all the releases I've seen in the last kind of 12 months, this has been the best one, most successful at least. But the problem is on the internet, you get a few people with a few problems, and then it becomes this huge thing with people. Oh, I'm not going to buy that. Or wait, I'm not going to buy one. I mean, all I can say is my experience though, right? I'm sure with some devices I have had issues. With this, I've had no issues. It's been really great. So having said all that, let me go to the next question. And then we'll do that Lyric demo, and I'll talk about the pickup, and you can hear me using Logic for that. What was the next one? Oh, David said, I hope you had a good birthday. Looks like you received a nice present. Yeah, I got a few nice presents, David. Thank you very much. I had a great birthday too. May, I had a very healthy, incredibly healthy month. And this June, I've had a very unhealthy month because I had a birthday week. Oh, actually, probably more like a birthday month I've had. And yeah, it was good. It's good to celebrate, right? And let your hair down. Speaking of which, I need to get a haircut as well. So that guitar and a couple of other things as well that I haven't shown you yet. I'm trying to space things out on the channel. And also, you don't understand how I get so engrossed in stuff. So I got the guitar, which I will review. It's a 00028 authentic. And then I got, from LR Bags, I got the Lyric pickup, because I wanted to, or microphone, because I wanted to try that system anyway. And I thought this would be a great guitar to put it into. So this has the Lyric microphone in it. And I did the stream yesterday to test it, and I was really happy with it. But actually watching it back, there was a couple of things in the sound that I didn't like. So I spent all today redoing the sound using plugins, EQ matching, EQ pedals, quad cortex, IRs, trying to get it even better. And I think I've succeeded. I'm going to share that with you next. David doesn't. You know what it is? Someone made a video about the quad cortex having a lot of latency, which I've never felt before, but another YouTube channel said it has a lot of latency. And suddenly I'm really obsessed with this. Suddenly I'm really noticing it everywhere. But I especially notice it in Logic. In Logic, through the Rodecaster with the 7 milliseconds, I do notice it. And I'm sure I've noticed it in the Voice Live 3 Extreme. I've chosen to ignore it. That's an older device. I guess I can kind of let it off, but still, they're still selling it, and it's got that latency. Those two devices are the only things that I've really had a problem with latency, that I've actually noticed it. But that got me thinking as well. Maybe I like the tube amps because there's no latency. Maybe that's why I like them so much. Maybe there is a feel thing there that I get from the analog gear, you know. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good to see you here. Right, let me show you the lyric then, because I think this is quite interesting. So I'm gonna switch over to Logic. I don't know if I'm going to show you the screen, but I've got Logic on the screen right now. Okay, I'm going to play some examples. So do me a favor, if you're watching this, if you're interested in acoustic guitar pickup systems and microphones, grab some headphones right now, because this stuff always just sounds terrible on a phone, right? Cheers, everybody. Let me know if I'm just do a test run. Let me know if you can hear this and if it's loud enough. So let's just see if it's as loud as my voice. Hang on. So let me know in the chat if you can hear that. I'll just do it one more time. Let me know if you can hear that nice and clearly. And what I'm doing, if you're interested in the Rodecaster Pro 2, it's really great what I'm doing here. I'm literally just pressing play in Logic, bringing up the fader, which is connected to USB Audio 1, and that is sending that through to Ecamm with no other software, no other things to do. And I'm just physically muting my mic so you get a nice clean sound coming through. But it's really, really easy, really easy. So I'm going to ignore the chat for a second and just talk you through this. So follow along if you want to with headphones. The lyric mic I keep switching between pickup and microphone because it is a microphone. So this microphone is like the Baggs Anthem. The Baggs Anthem has an undersaddle pickup, which is their soft pickup, goes under the saddle, the element, they call it the element, and the microphone. And what happens is the undersaddle handles all the frequencies in the bass, and it tapers off around 800 hertz. So everything above that is the microphone. And what happens with like an undersaddle pickup, so with some undersaddle pickups, you get that, what we call, well, I don't call it this, but some people call it quack. And it's not a nice, it's kind of a plasticky fake sound. I won't get into what I think about undersaddle pickups today because I think they're very useful for certain things, but I always love what they did with this Anthem system. They had the mic and the undersaddle pickup. And just so you know, the SL has the blend preset where the full Anthem, you can choose the blend between pickup and mic. So you can actually have the whole mic, the whole pickup and no mic if you want to on the full Anthem. The SL is preset. You can't change the blend, but it's got a higher output for that reason. There's an extra stage in the full Anthem that cuts it by about 6 to 8 decibels. And I always run the Anthem at 100% mic anyway, therefore I think the Anthem SL is the way to go. But the lyric is that without the undersaddle. And this appealed to me because, well, mostly because on that guitar, the saddle is long and glued in. So LR Baggs told me they could install an Anthem if I want to, if I send them the guitar. And I said, well, with the other Authentic, I don't want to really put anything in it. But maybe with this one, because it's got the adjustable truss rod and it's got the regular bridge pins, maybe this one I'll put a pickup in it. So what I did was I got a relict aged strap pin, put that in there, And then this system is good because it's very minimal. You basically, it weighs about 3 ounces. I weighed it, the whole thing with the batteries, about 3 ounces. So I drilled out the end pin. I didn't do it. My buddy did it. Drilled out the end pin. That was fun. And then inside you stick the mic. The mic is really light. It's really light. The controls are really light. The controls were in the sound hole, but I've moved them back. I just got another sticky pad that they gave me and moved them back because I didn't want them to be visible. And also by moving them back, I can now use a sound hole plug. I really believe in sound hole plugs these days. I think everyone should have one in their gig bag, okay? So, the great thing so far is that it's light. It's got a good output signal. There's no noise, which is great. A little bit of background hiss like you get from any microphone, but no light interference or anything like that. And very non-invasive, right? You don't really see it. So that's I love all those things about it so far. And then the thing is the sound. So that's what I'm going to show you now. And I'll play these again once I've talked you through them. But first of all, here is a microphone. Here is a small diaphragm condenser, so a small mic like this. This is on the outside of the guitar. This is just the guitar with new strings, no EQ, nothing. This is just the guitar with an external microphone. Okay, here we go. So that is an external mic. Now remember, there's no EQ, and if you move the microphone, you get more or less bass depending on where the mic is, how far it is from the guitar. And this is a problem as well. This is a problem when you're doing a live stream or a concert, because if you move, the whole tone of the guitar will change. But that is what the mic'd guitar sounds like. Now this is what the lyric sounds like with no EQ. This is just directly into the interface. So here are my thoughts. First of all, much better sound than any kind of undersaddle pickup that I've heard. There's none of that weird plasticky sound, but there's 2 things with this sound that I don't like, or that I want to improve, let's say. I won't say I don't like, because this can be useful. The first thing is there's not a lot of low end, and it's a very mid-range sound, and I think what they've done is they've pre-EQ'd this mic to remove reflections. Because the mic is inside the guitar and not outside the guitar, they want to remove the reflections so you get less chance of feedback. Therefore, they're cutting out a lot of the low end and cutting out a lot of frequencies that make it very mid-rangey. But I will say this, I'm kind of glad they did that because I find that sound really useful. Like if I want to do a solo or finger picking, that is the actual tone that I want. So what you can do with this is you can run EQ to get the strumming sound, and if you turn that EQ off, you could use this for your lead sound. So I actually like that. But I understand why on the forums people are saying I installed the lyric and it sounds honky and nasally and not like I want. Yes, I get that because they've done these things to it. And it's very clear to me after doing a live stream yesterday that it needs an EQ to go through, okay? So the other thing is, on some guitars, I hear the D string kind of pinging, and I hear it on here through that pickup. And the reason is, well, the mic, the reason with the lyric is it's stuck under the bridge plate, and that's exactly where the strings go over the saddle. And I can hear all that kind of, you get a lot of harmonics with the Sitka spruce, the spruce and the rosewood, you get a lot of harmonics around there. I don't hear them in the real microphone. Sorry, I keep saying that. I don't hear them in the external microphone, but I hear them in the lyric microphone, and I think that's because of where it's stuck. It's stuck right underneath where those noises are happening. The kind of plinks and clinks are happening under the saddle there. So what I did was, David will laugh about this, I EQ matched it with the real mic, and then I went in and took out those frequencies that were making those noises. And the way I do that is to use a really good EQ plugin, do a really narrow notch, boost them, scan through to find it. It was 1950 kilohertz, 1950, and I just took it all out. Okay, so I then made the sound that I wanted. So now I'm going to play you that sound, which sounds like this. Now, David's laughing because there's a whole thing on the Helix now about tone matching. You know, the tone matching thing with electric for me is kind of not as good as acoustic. With the acoustic, and this is why I think it's good with this system, it's a microphone in the guitar. It's already picking up a lot of information. It's all it's already quite natural. The 16 point, or I think it's 10 point EQ on here, can then take that and shape it to be more like the external microphone, if that's the sound that you want. I think on acoustic, this is a really useful tool. Now, how do I get that into my live rig? I'll take you into that in a second, but let me just play them back to back because I think you'll be impressed. Now, the Lyric doesn't sound as good as the external mic. Let's just get some things in context here. The external mic is $800. The Lyric is a couple of $100s. The external mic is outside the guitar, picking up the whole guitar and some of the room. The Lyric is stuck inside the guitar and has had some things removed already so it behaves itself on stage. But having said that, check these out. I'm going to run them back to back. I'm going to play the external mic and I'm going to switch to the EQ match mic. Check this out. I hope you've got your headphones on. I gotta say, in my opinion, it's really, really close, and you could probably get it even closer, but compared to the original sound we had, very narrow, very mid-rangey, very compressed, and that ringing, I don't know if you can hear it, I hear that ringing frequency that bugs me, drives me crazy, and I heard it on the stream yesterday, which is why I spent all day doing this. Here's the EQ match. You hear it just opens up, the bass is boosted. So you can just do this with EQ. You don't need to use the EQ match. This is just EQ. This is why EQ is so important for musicians. And it drives me crazy lately that a lot of people on forums are saying, well, I bought this piece of gear and it didn't sound good, so I sold it and got something else. No, first of all, EQ can fix a lot of problems and you gotta get good at it. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I've used this plugin, but look at the difference it's made. Again, here's the original, here's the pickup straight in. Here's the tone match. And here's the mic external. So the external just has one more layer of depth to it, of softness to it, which again, you may be able to get to, but then again, maybe you can't because that's why we record them with real microphones, right? Because they sound the best. But I think that Lyric is seriously impressive. Even without the EQ, it's better than a lot of pickups. But with the EQ, it's really, really, really good. And there's another plus to this system as well. Here is me playing the guitar with the external mic and talking, and then doing the same thing with the Lyric. This is a benefit, you'll hear it. When I'm using the external mic, it picks up everything, all the noise, my voice is clear. With the Lyric, I have to shout for you to hear my voice. This is important because if you use a real mic on stage, that's why it's a problem. That's why you get the feedback. I mean, you'll hear it for yourself. Check this out. So this is the mic. Sounds better, but check out my voice. So my voice is coming through. I was just talking like this. It was coming right through. Obviously, the mic is right there, you know, by the guitar, right? But now check out the Lyric with the EQ match and talking. I'm actually shouting this time. Can you hear me? I'm shouting now. So I was literally like shouting at the guitar and it was just picking up my voice. And that can happen with a lot of soundboard pickups anyway. They pick up your voice. And it's not just microphones that pick up the voice. So I think that's a real plus for the system. If you try to use this microphone on a stage, you're just going to have problem after problem after problem because it's going to be picking up everything around you, your voice, the crowd. Don't forget that too. A friend of mine reminded me last week, it's all, not just the feedback you've got to worry about, it's also the ambient noise as well. It's going to pick up everything in the room, like the rustling of papers and the cheering of glasses and things. It's gonna pick all that up, right? So this Lyric is amazing because if you do choose to use it on stage, it's going to cut out a lot of the ambient noise, and then if you use a sound hole plug as well, it's going to cut out even more of it. But that brings me on to the one thing that I'm worried about. I think the tone of this is excellent and I'd love to use it on live, but I'm just a bit concerned because it is still a microphone and it does still have potential to feed back. And those, especially those low frequencies, I mean, I had it in the living room the other day and I was getting some kind of weird, phasey, boomy, low kind of sounds. I mean, the speaker was a big speaker on the floor, to be fair, and I was facing it with no plug, to be fair, but that doesn't happen with the Cole Clark. With the Cole Clark, you see the undersaddle does all those low frequencies. There's no mic involved in those frequencies. So, and the same thing can happen with the K&K as well. It works a lot like a microphone. So this will be a video review. This is like a test run, just to run it by you guys, see what you think. But I think it sounds more natural than any system. We don't always want natural, but if you want natural, it sounds more natural than almost any system I've ever tried. It's very non-invasive. It's very clean sounding, and if you use an EQ, a good EQ, doesn't have to be an EQ match, then you can use this, especially with in-ears, and it sounds just like a microphone. Sounds just like an external microphone. So how did I get this into the quad cortex? Well, the first thing I tried to do was to take this out as an impulse response. This is interesting as well. This is very technical, but I bounced this out as an IR, and it didn't work well. I don't think the IRs in the quad cortex are long enough. It didn't sound as good as it did in Logic. Then I tried it in Helix. Still didn't sound as good. This was better, but not as good as in Logic itself. And I thought, wow, then I thought, hang on, I don't need an IR. This is just a 10-band EQ. So I went to the quad cortex, I loaded 2 EQ blocks, and I manually put in the settings. And I got it really close. One thing about the quad cortex is the EQ isn't as powerful as in Logic. So for example, one EQ cut was like 20 decibels and then the quad cortex only had 10 or something like that. Some of the parameters didn't go as deep as they do in Logic. I'm going to send a message to Neural and ask them to expand the EQ to give it more depth and more control over the parameters because I couldn't exactly match what I had here. And the funny thing is, the examples you heard there were through the quad cortex. So that wasn't even EQ matched as close as it was in Logic. The Logic EQ, the Pro Q in Logic that I use is really powerful. But it's interesting to me that the IRs that I created don't sound as good as they do running natively in the software. And I believe that's because, well, I know the quad cortex doesn't do long IRs. So when you're doing like acoustic, you want a longer IR. So you can just hear it. It doesn't have the same information that the original had. And that was very interesting to me too. So if I was a touring professional, what I would do is I would spend my time and EQ match something like the Lyric, and I'd run a system like Logic or one of those really advanced mixing boards, and I'd use that live and have a sound engineer, and I'd use in-ears, and I wouldn't have any feedback, and it would be a really inspiring sound where I can still move around the stage. So I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with this, but I don't think it's for everyone. I'm not going to start saying everyone should buy one of these and start gigging with it, because I can see there still being issues with feedback in certain environments, but I've never heard anything sound that close. And remember, again, I want to say that again, the 2 examples you heard, that wasn't EQ match, that wasn't an impulse response. That was just 8 bands of EQ on the quad cortex, the pedal they have, right? So this was the external mic. And this is just a Lyric with just 8 bands of EQ on the quad cortex. And I like that. I like that all you need is a great guitar, a Lyric, and an 8-band EQ on a nice mixing console or a pedal, and you're good to go. You don't need impulse responses, all these things, blah, blah, plug-in, blah, blah. There's not even any reverb on there. That's just a direct signal with 8 bands of EQ. That's it. So tell me what you think. You can probably tell, I'm really impressed. And that's probably going to be my guitar now for live streams, because I can get that mic'd sound without the hassle of running 2 mics and the phasing and all that stuff. I can just have that preset on the Quad Cortex, plug the guitar in, and go. And I'm really excited for that for the live streams. I will try to use it live and report back on that, but I can't think of anything better for live streams. I'd say it sounds so much better than all the IR stuff and everything. So much better. So that's my little demo. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go back to the chat and see what you were saying. Can you answer this for me for Paddy? How often should I oil my acoustic guitar fretboards? Because I don't do this. What I do is, I said this the other week, on my gigging guitars that get kind of like sweat, you know, will sweat and the grime, I'll just get a piece of kitchen paper and just make it really slightly damp and just wipe off the wood to get any grime and sweat and things and dirt off the fretboard. And then when I take my guitars once a year, once every 2 years to be set up, I'm sure then they get oiled, but I don't actually oil the fretboards. I did notice on my Strat it's starting to look a bit dry, and I should probably do it. But I just think, you know, with the acoustics and where I live and everything, that's not something that I do. So let me know in the chat if you do that, and if you do, how often do you do it? That can be today's question, because the truth is I don't really do that, Paddy. Maybe I should do it more than I do. Okay. So I got some questions here, good. Would bypassing the N-pin preamp and using a high-end external preamp improve the clarity of the undersaddle? In particular, I'd like to pair a Fishman with an Avalon preamp. Okay. No. You know, I'm quite passionate about this, if you can't tell. I spent a lot of time and money on the pickup reviews and demos. No, not before that. I spent a lot of time and money on products because I felt like I could find something that would give me an incredible sound, like the sound we just heard. I felt like I could have something like an undersaddle pickup and plug it into a box and get this sound that was in my head. And the truth is, I don't think you can. All those preamps and things, like preamps are great and they're useful, but you have to have a good source to start with. You know, like I'm not a fan of the K&K, but if you get a K&K and a good guitar and a really good analog preamp, you can shape a very usable sound. But if you get something, my point is you need a good source. Like if you've got a pickup in your guitar that has all that plasticky sound to it and doesn't have any information, you can't really add it unless, the way they're trying to do that now is to add it with digital, with impulse responses. But I don't like that either. It still doesn't have the sound that the external mic has to me. It doesn't sound natural. So my advice is to get something, and that's why I'm interested in this lyric, get something that sounds natural to start with and then improve it with EQ and reverbs and compression. I don't believe you can take a bad sounding acoustic guitar pickup and make it sound good. Maybe one day when we get more further developed with the impulse response stuff, maybe, but I've never heard it. I never heard it. Also remember, the characteristics of the pickup come through as well. So playing that pickup doesn't feel the same as playing through the microphone. It's close, but you get more of the attack because the mic is underneath the saddle. And so different pickups have a different feel as well. But no, I don't think you should even spend your time on that. I've tried a lot of undersaddle pickups, a lot of soundboard pickups, and the truth of the matter is some of them sound a little bit more natural than others, but they still don't sound natural enough for me. And that's why now these days I just gig the Cole Clark, because it's got all 3 pickups in and sounds really good and is even more feedback resistant. This lyric thing has made me very happy, but like I said, this for me will be for live streaming, for plugging in direct and playing on the live stream. For a gig, I'd still rather use like the Cole Clark. Yeah, but no, that's my experience with the undersaddles. Like I couldn't, and even with the impulse stuff, they still don't sound good to me. Sorry. you see, that was great. That demo was great because I just hit play in Logic and I just brought up the fader to Unity, which is 0 on here, and it came straight through, right? Really, really nice. I couldn't do that on the old rig. The doctor's back in the house. The authentic guitars look promising. Yeah, I think that's the best guitars that Martin make. The custom shops and the authentics for me are the best. A friend from high school who plays exclusively acoustic and solo through trio gigs swears by the Anthem. Yeah. He has high-end guitars, but he also puts it through a very high rack preamp. You know, lately I've tried to be more. I want to have more opinions. I don't want to just be like, here's a demo of a pickup and move on to the next thing. I want to have opinions. My opinion for today, as far as today, because it may change, is that the Anthem and the Anthem SL are the best third-party systems that you can install into an acoustic guitar. And the Cole Clark, for me, is the best factory-installed system that comes in a guitar. And I want to have opinions. I don't want to just be on the fence all the time. I don't want to be a channel that's just demoing stuff, although I do demo stuff, but I also want to have opinions because I think that will help people. Not that my opinions are the be and end all, but I want to pass on information that I've spent so long and so much time and money on to form. So the Anthem isn't perfect, but for me, it's the best all-round system, again, that you can install into a guitar. As long as you've got that undersaddle, the saddle you can take out, and as long as you're willing to put that amount of stuff in a guitar that you've bought, because I do believe it can change the tone a little bit as well, depending on the guitar, the installation, and everything else. So there's that comes into it as well. That's why I like the Lyric, but then again, the Lyric would not be as good on stage, I believe, as the Anthem. So you have to make a decision. Like I said, I will try to take this guitar out to at least one gig to see what happens, but I'm a little bit nervous about it. But it's okay, because I'll take the Cole Clark as well. Did I get any more cues? Paddy, you didn't put a cue, Paddy. You got to put a cue there, my friend. Yeah, but you see, that's my point. That's my point. My point with those preamps is you can spend $1,000 on something like a Pendulum preamp, and if you plug a horrible sounding pickup into it, it's not a magic potion, It's not just going to make it better. For me, no. That's how I feel. Like, and even if you talk about the Anthem, David, plugging the Anthem into a Pendulum, I think that's a bit unnecessary. I don't think you need that. You just need, with the Anthem, I think you just need a really good mixer, good console. That's the other thing. Like, a lot of people have DIs and effects pedals and things. I think what you need is a really good mixing console where you can send all the instruments to and process them the way they need to be processed. And then send that to some really good powered speakers. Hey, I made a tone match video last year, and you know what? It's actually called EQ. It's not called tone match. It's called EQ match. But a lot of people have been doing that for a long time, and it can really. All it does for me is proves that EQ is really important, and a lot of musicians don't understand EQ, and their gear could sound so much better if they understood the EQ. I really believe that. Oh, he puts the Lyric through the Pendulum. Okay. Okay, so ask him what he thinks of that then. I definitely think that the Lyric needs a preamp. It definitely needs to have the sound shaped. As you heard, I've got that going through 8 bands of EQ. So I definitely think that needs at least a 3-band EQ. I'm not going to say that. The tone match sound is like, let me see. Okay. Let me change that. Oh, I just did the wrong thing. Now it's quieter. But I want to say again though, I used the EQ match to figure out what the EQs were doing, and then I added 2 of my own. But the 8 that I put onto the Quad Cortex, yeah, so it's just 6. So yes, I used it to help me, but I could have just sat there and figured it out myself as well. I could have just thought, well, the low end needs boosting and the high end needs boosting, and there's something in the mid range. So it's not even, I don't want to use that word tone match. It's not really tone match. It's just 8 bands of EQ or 6 bands of EQ and then 2 bands that I put in there as well to remove those harsh sounds because it's stuck to the underside of the bridge plate. So it's not even that really. Where did that go? Ah, totally agree. EQ is the most powerful tool we can use. But definitely one of them, yeah. Definitely. Headrush sounds just like a tube when you EQ correctly. Well, we've done those tests together. I do believe you can EQ the modelers to sound just like the tube amps, but they still don't feel the same. And the whole thing about that stuff is for me that I always play the amp in the room. I like the amps in the room through the speaker, and even the tube amp through the Captor X and stuff. I just think it still sounds better to me. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So that when I was talking on that example, that was really impressive, right? Because it wasn't picking up that external noise like the mic was. But again, it's obviously not going to, because the external mic is stuck here. Obviously, it's picking up everything that it's looking at, right? But the one inside is very resistant to the external sound, which is good. Yes, good point. So it's not just the guitar and the system, it's also the room. The room, the gear you're using, and where you're positioned as well. This all plays into it. I mean, I will say one thing about the Cole Clark with the feedback buster in the sound hole. It is pretty consistent. I like that. That is a nice thing to have with a gigging guitar, the consistency. I think that the lyrics can be less consistent, but we'll see. David says, my friend does not play loud. I play at high volume. Yeah, that's the thing. It also depends how loud you want to play, definitely. Because any pickup can feed back if you turn it up high enough. You know, I've had just bare matrix undersaddle pickups in here in front of the studio monitors, and that if you turn it up loud enough, that will feed back. Eventually, there'll be a resonant frequency that feeds back, for sure. Having said that, if you went in and took that out, it wouldn't feed back, would it? So if you know what you're doing with the lyric, you could EQ it to not feedback, I believe. I'm also a big fan lately of the sound hole plug. I just think that's so useful. So Padded Room puts lemon oil on the fretboard when he changes strings if it looks dry. Yes, a lot of people use lemon oil. I never use it. I never had a problem. I never had a fretboard dry out. I mean, a lot of this depends on where you live as well, doesn't it? Things like that. I do a light oiling every time I change. Every time? Wow. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rosita, for subscribing. And thank you, David Belcher, for the super chat. All right. Yeah, I agree with what you said, Poo Ninja. Get an excellent sauce. HP or tomato. Thanks for the comprehensive answer. Well, that's just how I feel. Yeah. What Poo Ninja said is the truth to me. And the thing is, like, there's that saying that the worst microphone is better than the best pickup system, which has got a lot of truth to it. But there's some pickup systems that just don't sound very good off the bat. And to then make that sound good, I just think that's a really hard thing to do. There's some systems that sound really pretty good out of the box. Like the Anthem sounds really great You know, you put the SL in, you set the trim for the presence control, and it sounds not amazing, but it sounds great straight away. And then you run it through a simple EQ, and you get a sound that's like, well, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is an incredible tone for a live tone, you know. So that's what I think. Now, it doesn't mean I don't wish we could just have a simple undersaddle and run it through a processor and have the tone that I was playing you earlier on the demo. I really do wish that was the case, but that hasn't happened for me yet. Of all the things I've tried, I haven't found that. So I do hope one day that happens. If you're listening, Neural, make that happen. Oh, look out. BMO's got a controversial point. Yeah. Put the Anthem SL in the Eastman. I think you'll like it. BMO says, in my opinion, the UA is better than the Rode. That's so controversial, BMO. Okay, so first of all, I need to ask you, have you tried the Rode? Or are you saying the sound from the stream? I listened back to previous streams and I felt the sound now in this stream is better than it used to be. So that's how I'm basing it on. And also, it's a fun thing to use, like having the sliders and everything and the sounds and the other controls is a nice thing to have in front of you while you're doing the live stream. But like I said, this is not a professional studio recording interface, so that's why I'm keeping that as well. I need both. I need both things. But there's a lot of things that the Rode does that doesn't do. Basically, if you're doing podcasting, I think the Rode is much better. And if you're doing recording only, I think the Apollo is much better, also much more expensive. And I think if you're doing both, that's where I'm at right now. I think I'm going to have both because most of what I do is videos and through the Rode. But then when I want to record audio again, if I want to do like a cover song, I'm going to use the Apollo, definitely. Unless they can improve the latency on the Rodecaster, but I don't think that's possible. With the current hardware. I'm just guessing. Opinions are good. Facts don't play well with musicians. Yeah, well, they can't be facts, can they? Because there's so many variables and all this. But I do think it's good to have opinions on stuff and not just sit on the. I don't want to sit on the fence. You know, that's what I'm worried about. So he has a lyric into a Pendulum DI into a high-end digital mixer. And so there you go. It should sound amazing, right? When he did his live streams, he just used a room condenser mic. Well, that's what I've been doing lately. But the thing is, I want to do the looping. So yeah, if you watched yesterday's live stream, I did looping. I moved around. The tone didn't change. So that's why I think the lyric is such a great solution. And I tell you what, like this week, I've been sitting here with the headphones in, playing through the lyric, and I said this yesterday, but I just got lost in the sound. The sound is that, when the sound is that good with a product that you just get lost in it and you find yourself just playing for hours, that's a really good sign. But like I said, that's with in-ears. A lot of people don't play with in-ears. I used to hate in-ears, and now after doing all the live streaming, I love using in-ears. I wish I could use in-ears all the time, to be honest. I really like it now. B sounded fuller. B? It is EQ match. That's exactly what the plugin is. Do you want to see the plugin? Can I do that? How do I do that? Oh no, actually, I don't have the plugin on here. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I don't have what I did earlier on here, but I have the plugin. So, whoa, that plane is flying scarily low. This one, yes. Okay, so this is what I was showing you earlier. You see, it's that simple. I just hit play and it comes through the eCam. That's really nice. What I do is, so that was the microphone, right? This is the plain pickup. So what I do is I load this plugin, Audio Effects Pro Q3 in stereo. This is great. If you haven't got this plugin, use Logic, you should get this. It's really great. And then you've got to tell it where you're coming from. So I'm coming from Lyric, no EQ. No? Oh, I put it on the wrong one. I put it over here, look. So this would be external mic here. So this is great. You can actually see what's happening in real time. And then what you can do is if you hover over it and hold, it actually shows you where the resonant peaks are. See that? And then what you can do is you can, if you think, oh, I can hear something sticking out, so it's probably one of those, you just hover over it and you can pull it up or down. And if you pull it up, then you can really hear it. So you know that is a problem. And if you pull it down, obviously it will disappear. Or you can click on it and then it will give you like the option of the Q, the gain, and the frequency. And what I was saying earlier is the gain on here goes to -30. On the quad cortex, I think it's -12. And the Q goes to 40 either way. Or 40 at the top. That doesn't go that narrow on the quad cortex. So I'd like to see them add that. But this is a very amazing EQ, and you can just keep adding EQ bands to it pretty much forever as well, which is a really nice thing. And this is what you use to do the EQ match. So basically what I did was I put them together like this. I said I loaded the plugin here, Pro Q3. I said the side chain is audio external mic 1. I went down to here and said do an EQ match. I chose side chain because that's what I just set up there, side chain. And you just hit play on the 2 tracks. It's going to sound terrible. Close your ears. And then you go to match and it gives you the shape, and you can actually change this from no bands all the way up to 23, 24 bands. It defaulted to 10. It basically said all you need there really is 10 or 12, whatever it was. So I put it on 12, click finish. That is the difference in the EQ. That's all it is, just matching the 2 like that. So then what you do is you play back this track here. And if I turn off the EQ match, this is what it sounded like before. If I turn on the EQ match, it sounds like this. And here's the original. So it's that easy, that easy. So then what I did was I also went through myself to see if there's anything else I didn't like. Of course, you could adjust it. You could say, well, I don't want that one there. I'll turn that one off. And then what I did was I just manually went over each one and typed it into the quad cortex, because there was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I just loaded like 2 EQ blocks and did the 12 EQ points or whatever it was. And then I recreated that EQ curve. Like I said, the only problem I came up against is that sometimes like the Q was, well, I can't remember which one it was now, but sometimes, for example, it was, I don't see the problem now, but sometimes the Q was, yeah, like 22.7 with the quad cortex when you go to 10 or something like that. I can't remember now, but I got really, really close to this using the quad cortex anyway. So that was nice. That's how you do it in case you're interested. It's really quite simple. Okay. Ooh, okay. Very geeky stuff today. Jim says a friend is loaning me his 2000 Taylor 314 KCE. Yeah, it was a good preamp back in 2000. Actually, what is the prefix? The thing is, right? There is a Fishman system that has a microphone as well, and that's actually a very good system if it's got the mic blend. The Fishman undersaddle by itself, same with the Element by itself, I'm not a fan of that. I wouldn't want to geek with that system. But a prefix that has the mic included is actually very good. I've heard it on a few guitars. It sounded great. So I'm just looking now. The one I'm seeing does not have a mic. The Plus T is a tuner with EQ, contour, and phase. But you might be able to replace it with the one that has the microphone. That's probably what I would do. And again, yeah, that system is from way back in 2000. So, you know, there's been a lot of changes since then. I think B in that last example was the non-EQ. It was a non-EQ'd version, yeah, because he made the EQ match version quieter. Volume makes a big difference. Well, it does, but you know, I could play it back later and change the volumes. Like I got them as close as I could. The tone of the EQ matched version is so much closer than without it, and it's never going to be exactly the same. Because again, this is what kind of annoyed me with some of those presets they're selling. The thing about it is you're just taking the original sound and running it through an EQ. You're not doing any like real fancy trickery. You're just EQing it to be more like something else. And then you also can't change the sound like you could on the actual amp because you're just EQing to match that particular tone. If you then EQ it, it'll be different, which might be better. I don't know, but I don't know. I wouldn't pay for stuff like that. But what I would do is I would use the EQ match at home to make some of my gear sound better or more like other gear that I own. But I wouldn't. You see, for example, I wouldn't buy a EQ matched acoustic sound from David because he would have made that with his guitar for a start and not my guitar. So it won't work, will it? I want my guitar to be EQ matched, not another guitar, if that makes sense. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. I shall go and buy a real coffee, not this Keurig thing I got here. Terrible. Cheers, buddy. I use lemon oil, current formula, which isn't pure like the old, maybe once a year. Oh, yeah. Essentially, only if it looks dry. Yeah, that's what I would agree with that. So if it looks like it needs it, if it's been longer than a year, then I would use lemon oil on it. I know everyone uses lemon oil. I know there's some other products on the market that you can get to use as well, but good old lemon oil is what most people use. Bimo says the stream sound is more sibby. What do you mean sibby? Sibby? The digital world has given us very powerful EQ tools. That said, I still love a Rackman Dual 31 band. It's nice to touch the faders. Yeah, I agree. And what you really need is the bands and the decibels on those bands. Because even, is it just me? Like, the Quad Cortex is a digital product. Why can you only do a 10 or 12 dB cut or boost? Why can't I do a 30 dB cut or boost? Why can't I do a 50 dB? Why is it only 10? Why have that limitation? Isn't the beauty of a digital product that it doesn't have limitations because it doesn't have the physical limitation? I don't know. I'm surprised about that. Yeah, like I said, I've never done mine. If mine go for a setup and they need doing, they'll be done at the setup. But if I notice that it was, I mean, obviously you don't want it to crack. If you notice it looks really dry, then just use a little bit. Don't go crazy with it. You use a little bit of lemon oil. Next time you change the strings, once or twice a year is enough. Sibilant. Well, I'm not sure. What I have on here is, that's the reason I like this thing. So I actually have a high pass filter. I have a de-esser on. So this is the de-esser on. This is the de-esser off. Testing, this is off. Testing, this is on. So you can actually hear it's reduced. I didn't have that on the, did I? I don't think I had that on the Apollo. And then this is the noise gate off. And then this is the noise gate on. So that makes a big difference. And I haven't adjusted these. These are just presets. This is the compressor off. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is the compressor on. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I know. This is the EQ. Well, I've got the high turned up on the EQ. That might be what you're hearing. So this is the EQ off. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. It's a little bit honky in the mid-range. And this is the EQ on. I've got the, notice I've got the highs turned up 2 decibels. Let me bring the highs down. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. There we go. And then you've got the exciter, the oral exciter, which has stuff going on the highs and lows as well. Testing. Actually, I preferred that highs boosted. I'm going to put it back. Sorry. Test. I like that. I like that sparkle on the voice. And then you've got a panning as well. So this is in the right speaker only, and this is in the left speaker only. I know. I really like it. I like this thing a lot more than I even thought I would. And I think with firmware updates that they release over time, it'll just become even better. And like Poo Ninja said, I like having the faders. I like having the sliders in front of me. It's really nice. So if I want to play a sound effect and suddenly realize that it's too loud, I can just pull it down quickly. Otherwise, you've got to get the mouse and go on the screen and find the fader and bring that down. That's no fun. Yes. So. Yeah, well, why not? I don't understand, especially something like a quad cortex, 12 dB on EQ. I don't get that at all. I think that should be at least 20, if not 30. I mean, it's 30 on my plugin in Logic, so why is it not the same? Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, I've been thinking about this week as well, Poo Ninja. This is also a big thing, that what you listen to makes a huge, what you use to listen to these YouTube videos and even what you use on your own gear makes a huge difference. Because I was using those Amazon earbuds for the first year of lockdown, and when I made that review the other week comparing them to these, I hated them. Like these, I thought these are so much better. But if you think about it, if I'm demoing you tones and I've dialed them in through these, and then you're listening to them through a stereo system or a different pair of headphones, it might sound completely different. You might have a subwoofer. You might have, it's crazy. Like ideally, we'd all have the same headphones, right? Crazy. Yes, I agree with that. And I do hear what you're saying, but I personally like it. I like having a bit of presence on my voice because my voice doesn't have a lot of presence on it. But ciao from Florence, Italy. Aaron, great to see you. Any tip about acoustic guitar setting when rain starts? I had huh? I mean, where to set up. I had a fantastic sound, voice print, even then with a few drops of sound. Really? I don't understand what you mean. So you had a great sound with the LR Baggs voice print. I just heard my voice. Is my phone up? That's weird. So you had a great sound with the LR Baggs voice print, and then it started to rain and the sound got bad. Really? I don't. So you're saying the rain affected the tone of the guitar? You mean the guitar or the electronics or everything? I guess it can happen. All I can say about rain and humidity is that if it's really humid where you are and you leave the guitar out like this, it will absorb moisture. It will sound flubby and duller. I definitely believe in that. Live, of course, rain and weather can affect electronics, especially if you've got bad electronics where you're playing. So I can believe that as well, but I've never experienced that. I thought you were going to say what to do when it rains, because I've often had the problem where you set up and it rains and the gear gets wet. That could be a real problem. Nowadays, I always ask to have a place that's covered. And even then, when there's cover, you can still get the rain blowing through onto your guitar. Of course, never get anything wet because that will just break stuff. Would love to see me review the Emerald guitars, the X10 and Virtuo hybrid acoustic electric. I've looked at them in the past. They interest me, but I'm just so happy with the rain song. You know, And I still like the wood guitars. So for me, like the only carbon kind of hybrid I would ever use is that Rain Song. And I use that if it's literally if it's raining. So, but I would like to try the Emerald. I mean, I'd like to try any guitar, but I think I think I'm still going to recommend the Rain Songs if you look at it carbon. David says, I'm finally learning to use the FM9. It's not that hard. Sounds good so far. Who knows? No way. Come on. Look, I love to mess around with this gear stuff. I love to figure out things. But the FM9, I just couldn't even... I mean, I think I got to the stage, honestly, where I didn't want to try anymore. I got tired. Even today, doing this EQ match, I didn't really want to do it. I've kind of stopped doing that. But I really wanted to do it for the lyric review. That's why I did it today. And it wasn't that hard. But the FM9, it's just so complicated. And the problem I have with that thing is that I didn't really like the tones anyway. I really like the tone. I mean, look, quick disclaimer, I just like using the tube amp, and even the tube amp through the IRs, right? But I've told you this before, we've discussed it, David, that the Quad Cortex, like I just load an amp, load a cab, load a reverb, and I'm pretty happy. You know, cut some bass, boost some treble, go. The FM stuff, I never really got any sounds that I thought were any good. And for me, that's not good. Same with the Helix. Actually, I got that way with the Kemper in the end as well. I was just like doing too many loading of profiles and things. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. For me, the Quad Cortex, everyone hates on it, but it sounds really good. And I actually think the amp models in the Quad Cortex sound better than the plugins. That's my opinion. BBE is nice phase trickery for loudspeakers, not for sources for playback. Well, it's in the Rodecaster. I don't know. It supposedly enhances the bottom and the top end, but yeah, that could also be adding that sibilance as well. When did you start talking? You should get your voice a birthday present so it has more present. Pooh. Paddy the Greek and Filipino S, you need to put a Q before the question. Yeah, if you don't put a Q, I might miss your question, which I probably have done. I was playing when the rain started. The guitar, most probably due to humidity, saying was hot. Wow. But if it rains and you're playing acoustic guitar, the humidity levels may go up drastically, but that shouldn't affect the sound of the guitar that quickly. That happens over time. So I don't know. That could be several factors. That could be the equipment you're playing through. That could be the effect of the weather. It could be your ears. You know, I was playing the other week and I felt like the volume dropped through the house system, but I don't think it did. So I wonder, like, did the system kind of get overpowered and start to lose power because I was pushing it too hard? This is like a very basic system in a pub, you know, a small system. Or was it my ears over the time? Did my ears start to lose sound just from being tired, you know, because I was playing every night? I don't know. But I don't think if it rains, I don't think the actual tone of the guitar should change instantly. I think that will take time. I think something else was happening there. And it wasn't Filipino S, it's Filippo S. Sorry. I was reading Patsy Smith's comment. Moisture carries the sound. Well, this is a whole new video here now, BMO, to compare my guitar playing outside in the rain to not playing in the rain. I think for me, if it starts raining outside in the summer, I usually would I'd be out there. I would have stopped playing and packed away. Because even with something like the Rain Song, at the end of the day, it's still got a pickup in there and you're still plugging into PA speakers, right? I don't really like playing outside, and I especially don't like playing in the rain because you end up just getting really nervous that something bad's going to happen, right? So I also like air conditioning as well. David says, Emerald guitars are hard to come by. I sold my X20 when I got my McPherson Sable. The Sable isn't as loud, but sounds so much better to me. Interesting. I'd like to try those too, because Dylan Talks Tone said he likes the McPherson Sables, as do many other people. But again, I'm very happy with the Rain Song. But you know, the funny thing, the annoying thing about the Rain Song is my favorite one is the one that I have, the black one that I don't sell anymore, with the hybrid composite. I love that guitar. I think I love it more than the other ones. Well, I haven't played the whole range yet, but I love that one. And it's so frustrating to me It happens all the time. There's a piece of gear by a company, and I love the piece of gear that you can't get anymore. I mean, it happens all the time because new gear is always updated in order to sell more gear. But I do find that frustrating when I like the old stuff that's not available anymore. I heard something really bad in my QC, the Core Cortex. When I let it sustain and fade out, could just be the preset I made. Really? What? I don't know. I don't know. I like the thing about the Quad Cortex is whenever I possibly can, I plug into my tube amp and the real speaker in the room. Whenever I possibly can do that. You haven't even asked me about the Spark today. Don't get me started on that. I don't even know if I want to review it now, but because I don't want to make like negative reviews. But the tube amp, I just absolutely love that feel, the sound, everything about it. Even a small tube amp with a small speaker, I just love that. Remember how I said any mic is better than any acoustic guitar pickup? I feel like any tube amp is better than any digital model. No, that's a bit. I don't really believe that, but I'm just leaning in that direction to make a point. But when I do use the Quad Cortex, I'm not disappointed like I have been with so many other digital products. But like I said, I would much rather use the real thing whenever I possibly can. But there we go. Exactly, I feel the same way. When it's raining, I tend to, it starts to rain a little bit, and you think, okay, I'll keep going. Once there's too much rain, I would just move inside. I just say that I got to move inside because I got too much stuff to get ruined, like you said. My rain song Shorty SG 12 fret is nice. Sounds more natural. So is that rain song the glass and carbon composite like mine is? Because I really like that combination. I believe they did that to save money. But there's something about the cut of the sound of that of those materials that I actually really like. And again, you might not, but I find like my the one with wood on top has more of a smooth sound. I like the cut that the glass composite has quite a lot. All right, my friends. Well, I hope you found that interesting. I haven't seen much information on the lyric system out there. The videos I've seen make it sound very good. I don't know if they've been EQ'd or not. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But my experience is if you're looking for a system to use with in-ears, maybe you play in church and always use in-ears, or you play in a touring band and always use in-ears, I wouldn't hesitate to use that system through a really good mixing board. I think it's fantastic. Would I use it live in a bar? I don't know. Maybe I'll try it this week and let you know in the final review. But I'm so blown away the last 6 months with the Cole Clark system that I don't even think I would, I'm not even that worried about it. And the Cole Clark sounds really good direct as well. I haven't even done an EQ match on that at all. But you still hear the piezo sound through the Cole Clark a little bit, which I actually think is a good thing live. But through the live stream, I think not having the piezo sound is a good thing. Yeah, I don't know. The Spark Mini, here's the thing, right? Quick summary. The Spark Mini sounds better than the Big Spark because it's got less bass. And they've even added a preset there where you can change the overall sound of the output speaker, which you can't do on the big one, which is silly because that's the one that needs it the most. But then the little one starts to break up once you turn it up too loud. Obviously, it's only 10 watts. And then the big one doesn't break up, but then the big one isn't battery powered. I don't know. They're not really for me. I feel like I want to knock a video out about them. Probably keep the Mini. I mean, the Mini is kind of cool if you've got if you're teaching a lesson or something and you want something in your backpack in case you need to amplify in the lesson. I see a use for that. In my video, I'm actually going to say this, which sounds crazy, but I think they should have made the Spark in the middle of the two. They should have made a Spark that's slightly more powerful than the Mini so it doesn't break up and make those noises, but battery powered and slightly louder like the larger one. I think that's what they should have done. But then I just sound like I'm complaining. So I don't know if you'll see that video. I'm still deciding if I make that video or not. I think I probably will because so many people talk about the Spark all the time. But I'm not. I don't want to run it down. I don't think that product is for me. Let's just say that. Hey, how you doing, my friend? It's been a while since I logged into your live streams. A lot has changed in the meantime. I said, what? No. Do I have a boo on here? Oh, I have this one. Sorry, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's fine. You have to tell me what the Taylor is. Like some Taylors are great. I've played a lot of Taylors that I just don't connect with, but they've changed their pickups over the years. Some people install their own pickup in a Taylor. So tell me what the model is. Tell me what the pickup is. I get it, and I will say, like, even my big Cole Clark, the sound of it unplugged would not satisfy a lot of people. I just feel like the sound of that thing plugged in is really second to none. I said that earlier on. I think their pickup system there. And then also, I bet you haven't tried their new preamp. The new preamp, the revised version that came out in January, is even better than the old one. So now you've got to sell the Taylor and buy another Cole Clark. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, buddy. All covered. Okay, so it's not the one that I have. Okay. See, Cole Clark is awesome. That's what BMO says. Yeah, it's really, really difficult right now with Cole Clark because they're really hard to find. And if you do find one, a word of warning, it's probably going to have the old preamp in it. I wouldn't buy one with the old preamp because you have to pay to upgrade that old preamp to the new one. So wait until the new models start coming through with the latest preamp, and that's the one with the FC button. Get one of those. You really can't go wrong for a plugged-in sound. I need to make a video about making a power pack for tube amps. It includes 2 deep cycle batteries and an inverter, so weight may be an issue for some. Yeah, that's the other thing. You can get battery powered packs now for amps like this. You could battery power the Spark, then again you got to carry that around with it as well. I actually really like the Spark Mini. I just think, and I guess to be fair, you got to factor in the price as well. The price and the features that you get, it is a good deal. It's just a shame that it doesn't have a little bit more headroom. And well, that's actually really, that's basically it. The headroom for me is the issue. Once you turn it up to a volume where you actually feel like you could use it, you start to get a lot of clipping of the speaker. And it doesn't sound good. I actually chose to just ignore it. I just played it with the clipping and ignored it. And I actually quite enjoyed it. But how long will that last for? Will that eventually break and blow up? It can't be a good thing, right? Hear the speaker kind of making noises. The other thing is I don't like the Spark at all for acoustic because the Spark amp doesn't have a tweeter, and that's really good for electric because that's more like an electric guitar sound, speaker sound. But I think the acoustic sounds really even more muddy through it than it does than the electric does. I don't know. I'm not that impressed. I might make a video about it, but I don't want to make too many negative videos on the channel. All right, friends, I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the super chats. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think about the Lyric. Like I said, I think a lot of people are going to be impressed with that. I just think a lot of people will stay away from microphones because of feedback, and I get that too. Villabo S says, I had to sell my Taylor PS10 in Brazilian. Nice. Fantastic guitar that caused me cramps after a few minutes. Oh, why was that? I trash you to sell it. I can only play narrow. Oh, you only play narrow necks. Okay. The other thing with Taylors is there's the pre-V class and now the V class. And I played some the other week at Rudy's when I got this one. And I just didn't bond with any of those V class sounds. I actually like the 100 and 200 series the most for Taylor. And then if you buy an older Taylor, it's going to have the different bracing and it'll be an older guitar, which I think I would prefer. So I've got a very mixed thing with Taylors. Like, yeah, I love the idea of them, and I love how some of them sound online. But all the ones now with the V class, or at least the ones that I've played, it's funny. I want to like them. I really want to like them, but they always have this kind of sound that just it doesn't connect with me. I don't know what it is, but I will keep trying, and if I ever find one that I like, I will, I'll be interested. But I will say that whenever I played the 100 and 200 series, I really like them, and they're really incredible value. But the thing with those is that they're still using the X bracing, which is an interesting thing. Oh, here we go. He's telling us now. It's a Taylor 410R. I love Cole Clark's amplifier sound. The acoustic sounds always made me a little sad. I don't use Taylor system. Ah, okay. JGB. Okay. Yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it. It's funny though, some of the Cole Clarks, some of the different, remember, thinking about Cole Clark, and it drives me crazy, because some of the woods don't resonate much, and that's good on stage. Some of the woods they use do resonate more, and people need to try those. It's just really hard to find them to try them. And also the body shapes too. Some of the smaller Cole Clarks sound better acoustically than the bigger ones, I've found. It's really weird. I'd love to one day sit down and play a bunch of them and have a more comprehensive view on this. But although my big Cole Clark does, but you know, the funny thing is I love the tone of it. I love the tone, but it's not very loud. It doesn't resonate. That's probably why it's good plugged in, but I get it. If you want one guitar and it resonates and has more to it, then I understand why you'd want to get something else. And then you put your own pickup in as well, which is cool. So yeah, no, I get it. But I just absolutely think the Cole Clark sounds so good plugged in for what I do. Even with the in-ears, they just sound awesome. And I don't understand why more people don't rave about them. Like I'm raving about it now, right? As a performing musician, it's just been a bit of a game changer. I don't understand why more people don't rave about them. Having said that, I didn't really connect with the pickup at all for several months. It wasn't until I got the revised preamp in the guitar and made myself gig the guitar and dial in my sound that I then discovered how fantastic it is. So I think Cole Clark need more guitars in America, and they need more education and more demos of the systems. And that's not me asking for a job. I just think that they need more exposure in general. And I think they'll sell a lot more if they do that. All right, I'm going to go. Watch out for a video this week. If you're new here, please subscribe and ring the bell. I really would appreciate it. My usual schedule is Mondays at 4 p.m. to talk about the gear. And then Sundays, if I'm not gigging, I'll do a live stream concert. During the week, I usually post at least one pre-recorded review or video a week. And they're random, so subscribe, ring the bell, and that will tell you when those videos go live. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And if anything that I said today helped you, feel free to send a super chat, a super thanks, or buy me a coffee. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Be well. Enjoy your gigging and your acoustic guitars and your electric guitars and your Taylors. I'm just kidding, my friend. It's all good. You know what I've discovered is that there is no perfect guitar, amp, or electric guitar. Unfortunately, that can be a problem for some people like me. All right, take care, be well. Thanks for watching. I always have fun here. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Meet me at the station at midnight. Wear your high heels, your red dress, and your smile. You look just like this other girl I knew. She was beautiful. And if you want to, maybe we can stay a little longer, stay a little longer. Yeah, we'll dance all night. Yeah, we'll dance all night. Like our hearts have never been broken, never been broken. Still lost and alone. dance all night. Yeah, dance all night. Yeah, dance all night, like our hearts have never